Hi there, Jason Franklin with Kite and Key Solutions, and I want to welcome you back to our Light Talks, where we highlight leadership, innovation, growth, habits, and tricks. And today we're talking with Tia Benning, and we recorded this interview ahead of time, but there were a few technical difficulties. So in the interview, you're going to see just Tia. However, it was such a great interview, and I hope you stick with us through the whole thing, because we're going to be talking about the human element to being a leader and the highs and the lows and the challenges of various leadership attributes and things that leaders do. And stick around to the very end and you will not be disappointed. Thank you again for joining us here at Kite and Key with our Light Talks, and enjoy this conversation with Tia Benning. Welcome again to Light Talks with Kite and Key Solutions. Today, I am super excited because we have a very good friend of mine that we're interviewing today, and probably one of the best leaders that you will get to talk to. She is unparalleled, and I'm totally biased, and I understand that. But Tia and I have known each other for over 20 years. We were kids together. Not really. We were lieutenants together, but it seems like we were kids back then now. But I'm just going to have her tell us a little bit about herself, why I've asked her to be on here as to highlight our leadership aspect of our Light Talks, and let her just go to town. And on a side note, the other reason that it's so valuable to listen to her is because not only is Tia a proven leader, both in the military and civilian sector, but she's also my executive coach. And I believe that executive coaching is so important that, yes, I even have the creme de la creme coaching me. So that being said, Tia, welcome. And I'm going to start off and say, why don't you tell us something a little bit about yourself personally, and then you can just transition into maybe telling us something about, a little bit about your leadership positions and about you professionally. It's all you.
Absolutely, Jason. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And hello to everyone virtually. I am Tia Benning, and I grew up an Army brat. So from my first memory all the way through high school, I have lived the Army life. That's all I knew. And when you live the Army life, you move from place to place to place every 3 years, at least back in the day. That's where I formed my first memories of who I was as a person. It also showed me how to, transition quickly, to reinvent myself, to fit in quickly at each location. And as I became a young adult, I vowed to be a little bit more stable and not to live my life that way. But after graduating college with a degree in psychology, I met and fell in love with my husband, who wanted nothing more than to become a soldier. So in that, my husband actually convinced me to join the Army with him. Go figure. So when you don't really know what you want to be when you grow up, it can be determined, by love and a ring. So my husband and I, in 1994, joined and went to basic training together. I would say 28 years, 5 deployments. My husband had 4, so really 9 deployments, 2 kids, a turtle, God rest her soul, and a dog named Bentley later. Here I am. And that is a whirlwind journey that we took to get from there to here. And there's a lot to unpack in the middle of what I just said, but personally, that Army journey from first memory up until today is what marks who I am today. As a soldier, then, and as a military leader, some of the jobs that I've been blessed to have enlisted wise, even though I had my degree, that's a whole nother story. Being an enlisted soldier kind of gave me the foundation of who I am and who I grew to be as a leader. So for those who don't understand rank, I started as a specialist, which is, just below becoming a non-commissioned officer on the enlisted side or an NCO. Started as a specialist in the communications field and became a non-commissioned officer. And then, applied for officer candidate school. And I was selected to be a second lieutenant. And I was able to remain in the communications field. And I held every job from platoon leader to company commander, to battalion commander, to brigade commander throughout my career, along with, working with soldiers and moving them around the Army as some of the broadening assignments that I had. So as we move forward, and Jason asks questions, you will see throughout my career where leadership had its twists and turns throughout that journey. So, Jason, hopefully that answered your first question.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about your leadership positions, and you have recently retired.
Yes.
And what's filling up your time now?
So as I transitioned and I'm, trying to figure out what I really want to be when I grow up, one thing I will tell you about my career as a soldier in the communications field, you deal with ones and zeros. You deal with networks. I mean, you're dealing with, lots of complicated equipment. But my true love and passion in the military and what gave me my staying power was the people. I found that I have a passion for people. And so the question that, that you ask, about, my leadership qualities, what kept me there was my passion for people. I think that, was that your question?
Well, it was close. Because I asked what was occupying your time these days.
These days. Okay. So what is occupying my time these days is one, building my executive coaching business. That is the passion that gave me the courage to step away from the military and fight for giving people a voice to be able to transition from, where they feel stuck today, to thriving in life tomorrow. So that's that's what I'm doing on the side. And then my day job is working for a communications private company as an executive director for them. So that fills up part of the time, but any time to spare is in building my business as an executive coach.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Hey, so Tia, I want to talk again about some of your leadership experiences and things like that. So I would definitely want to talk about, so the hardest thing you've ever had to do as a leader, what would you say that was? And I don't mean work with me.
Well, yeah, I'll leave that out. So the hardest thing, that is actually a very hard question. Because with hard things come hard memories. But I would have to say on my last deployment to Afghanistan, that's my fifth deployment, I deployed as an individual augmentee. And what that means is I did not train and deploy with a group. Like I didn't train my soldiers and then deploy them, into Afghanistan. The soldiers that were there, the soldiers and the officers that were there were soldiers that I fell in on and had to build that team and grow them to accomplish our mission. But of that team, there was one young lieutenant who I took under my wing. This lieutenant was National Guard and had his own, little team. But I saw a lot of the leadership qualities in him. I saw them, in me as a young lieutenant. And this soldier stayed in my office, just, talking to me, getting guidance, counseling, mentorship in how to do his job to the best of his ability. And I realized there were certain things that this officer was going through with his unit, who was, not in theater, not in country, and along with his soldiers. And I thought, hey, I am doing, a phenomenal job mentoring this soldier and showing him how, to work his way through those leadership challenges. But the day after the soldier and his group left Afghanistan, or actually left where we were in Afghanistan to go to the transition location, my soldier, and I call him my soldier because, yes, I fell in on them, but, they were mine to care for while I was there. But this soldier ended up taking his own life before getting out of theater. So hard things. The first thing was eulogizing a soldier while deployed. Hardest thing I've ever had to do. Escorting him onto a plane back to his family, not the way that he came. Hardest thing I've ever had to do. Trying not to blame myself as a leader. Hardest thing I've ever had to do. And then realizing that sometimes being a good leader may not be enough. Absolutely one of the hardest things I've had to do. So, not to, be very somber about this whole thing, but as leaders, you gotta tackle the hard stuff. And that's probably one of the hardest that I've had, not only, professionally, but also personally, because I carry that, and I most likely will carry that, until I leave this big blue rock. So.
Thank you so much. I am definitely going to reemphasize the fact that while most leaders probably will not have to do something that difficult, you said it, as a leader, you have to tackle the hard things. You have to get after the hard things, no matter how hard they are. And so, I applaud you for being willing to do that eulogy. So thank you for sharing that. Really, I didn't see that coming. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's deeply personal. But for those who are walking the life of, being a leader, another thing that I think is challenging for us is to talk about the things that kind of, break you as a leader, and you have to build yourself back up, and when you do that, you also build the folks around you as well.
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you. So at Kite and Key, we talk about, everybody, all the buzzwords today are about work-life balance, right? And we don't really believe in work-life balance at Kite and Key. We believe in synchronizing the elements of your life because everybody's got or the dimensions of your life. Everybody's got a spiritual, an emotional, a physical, dimension to their life, and synchronizing that across all the domains of your life, right? So because no one is completely separated between what they do at work and what they do at home. Even people with high security clearances still, while they're in those deep basements, have to have a family outside of that and have relationships outside of that. So we talk about synchronizing elements and of your life. And what I want to ask you is, can you tell me, so you've told us about the hardest thing you've ever do. As a leader, what your most positive memory is, and that can actually bleed over into your personal life and your professional life. So however you want to synchronize that yourself, I just curious to know your most positive memory.
My most positive memory has to be, I'll say, first of all, as an officer in the Army. I mean, as you can see, the military was my life. It's our first baby. To go from, enlisted to making it all the way to full bird colonel, I would say, my promotion to colonel was one of the greatest highlights in my military career. I still remember the day and what it felt like when my parents and my husband pinned my eagles on my shoulders. I just, that is one moment where I just basked in the moment. I just allowed, I allowed the whole energy of it all to just sink in. And I'm glad I did that because, on certain days where I don't have the military anymore, I'm not putting the uniform on every day, I think about that day and it's encouraging. So absolutely wonderful memory. Had my family there, my girls, my husband, many of my military mentors in the room. And it was just wonderful. On the personal side, after I transitioned from the military and I was still going through what I call the mourning phase, like you have to grieve, closing the chapter on a career like that. You have to go through the process of grieving the loss of that, if you will. And I know that kind of sounds sad, but I don't mean for that to be sad. You have to go through the process of closing that chapter. And during the time that I was doing that and gaining and regaining a relationship with my daughters, who we drug everywhere we went, and they had to live the life of the military, whether they wanted to or not. And my youngest daughter sent me a text message that said, "You are literally my best friend." And if I could just unpack, why that was so important, it was because one of the reasons why I made that transition out of the military and I'm not continuing to serve right now is because I believe my children at a certain point in time, they really needed me. They needed mom. They needed my attention, and they needed me to be stable enough to see and hear what they needed. This younger generation has they received that hard level of Candy Crush, that one level that you just can't get off of regardless of what you do. I feel like this younger generation kind of fell in on that with the pandemic and the things that they've had to deal with, social media, and things of that nature has really given them a tough way to go. So to go from a child who would tell me nothing to a child who would send me a text message that said, "You are literally my best friend," is a memory that I will carry with me again until I leave this big blue rock.
And that is a beautiful memory. And thank you so much for sharing that with us as well. Yeah, I'm going to give a shameless plug for Tia. I didn't tell her I was going to do this, but if you're in our listening, if you're within earshot of us and you have a group of young people that are in the latter years of high school or in college, Tia has a phenomenal approach to speaking to those young people and their transitions in life and the things that they're going through. And she's coming at it from a point of view that she gets it because of her daughters and the age that they are. So I would encourage you to contact us. You can get a hold of Tia via our website, and she will be happy to come and speak to any of your group of young people and give a fresh perspective and motivation. Is that an accurate statement, Tia?
It is. It is. I mean, we've got to lend an ear to this younger generation. And I can't say I got it, from some, aha moment. I got that through, some trial and error in loving my own, kids and truly opening, an ear to hear what they, what their concerns are. So definitely a true passion of mine. As should, every adult who loves this younger generation as they are. So thank you for that, Jason. I would love to be able to do that.
Absolutely. So moving forward just a little bit here, I always say, and I'm not the only one who says this, that, to lead well, you've got to lead yourself well. And one of the ways that I do that is I have mentors and coaches like Tia. But Tia, I know you've been mentored a lot over the years. Who would you say your most influential or greatest mentor has been? And tell me about that person and why that's the case.
So in the military, I've had a ton of leaders who had to drag this thing across several finish lines. And I am truly thankful for those leaders. As long as I was in the uniform pushing hard, they were throwing me up on the stage and, commanding that I sing, and I didn't want to let them down. So I would end up, any other time I would throw out several different names, from that aspect. But because I have transitioned, I have since realized that my true mentors, and I know you asked for one, but I can't slice it up into one person, but my true mentors have truly been my mom and my dad. Just watching them, they are still married, over 50 years of marriage, came from very, very humble beginnings in New Orleans, Louisiana. And, my dad joined the military through the draft, but he was a bad boy, so that, go to war or go to jail, that is not that's, not necessarily a false statement. That is a true statement for my dad. But in that, he turned a draft experience into a life experience by staying in the military for 20 years after, finishing, the draft aspect of it. He went on to lead a 20-year career, Vietnam 3 times, and my mother was right there to support him. And what that showed me now as an adult are all the little things that I saw growing up, managing money. When they were upset with each other, they taught us how to walk down the street and hold hands at the same time, not saying a word to each other. And I don't know if you've ever tried that, but my husband and I tried that, and we found that is not, it's easier said than done. But my mom and my dad showed both my husband and I, who kind of grew up together in this life, being married at 23 and 25, how to be a partner, how to have that partnership in our marriage, being dual military and loving each other as, husband and wife, as mother and father, as, soldier to soldier. they taught us, throughout this military life, kind of how to walk through some of those really difficult times. So, I would have to share that honor between both my mom and my dad. My mom being a prayer warrior and a supporter of soldiers, and my dad, doing what he had to do to make a life for his children. So I have the benefit of growing up in a beautiful home with a pool in the back, whereas my mom and my dad did not, they absolutely did not grow up that way. And they've taught my husband, how to be a true, husband and father to the family that he now has. So I would give that honor to my mom and my dad.
That is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. So I thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. All right. So we are going to start wrapping up here. They've got a couple more things here, but one of them would be, Tia, if you had to give a challenge to all of our listeners out there, a challenge from the desk of Tia Benning, what would that be?
Ooh. The challenge that I would offer to anyone listening is to make sure that you are walking through this life doing and being who you really want to be. Sometimes time, catches up with us and we'll, jump into something, either a job, a relationship, something in life, we'll jump into it without having really recognized if that is truly filling our life's cup. And 10, 20 years down the line, you find yourselves trying to figure out how to get to where you are truly thriving in life. I would say, and there's no time like the present. So if you find yourself in that place where you're not where you want to be, my challenge is for you to have the courage to start trying to get after it. I myself am doing the same thing. Now, I've shared with you that my whole journey has been in the military, and I loved the military. I loved what it provided for me and my family. I loved the people that I met, but I was also a communicator, with ones and zeros and networks and things of that nature. I have realized that my love and my passion is for people. And so I have stepped out of my career in the military, and I am going after it with everything that I have to be able to fill my life's cup and my purpose, which is helping people. So yeah, is 28 years a little late? I don't think so. It's right on time. So I challenge you to just sit down and think, am I where I want to be in this particular life, regardless of what it is? And if not, I challenge you to get after it. That's it, Jason.
I mean, I'm writing it down. It was so good. I'm gonna use that. You're gonna see that again. And so, Tia, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing just a small snippet of your life and your leadership experiences with us. Again, I've known you for a very long time, and I want to tell you, I am super proud of you. And it has been such an honor to both know you as a friend, as serve our country with you. I love how our paths continue to cross over time. We actually, was that last deployment of yours, was that when we met in Afghanistan? Or did you go to Afghanistan one more time after that?
That was my second deployment to Afghanistan.
Okay. Gotcha. So yeah, you had a heart for that vacation spot a lot more than I did. But
I hear you. Along with Iraq, I didn't leave anything over there, but they kept sending me over there to find stuff. So
right. So, but just, and then how we have just crossed paths over the years, and So I am thoroughly proud of you. I'm so honored to have you on the Kite and Key Solutions team, beyond belief. And hopefully, as you continue to grow your coaching and your mentoring career, that I'll get to watch that and be a part of that too. So thank you again. And I will give you one last final thought, and then we'll close out.
Well, I would like to save this last thought to thank you, Jason, for, just being the genuine person that you are. I truly feel like this is all a part of, a divine plan that's bigger than ourselves. I mean, who knew that we were going to meet, or stay connected over the last 20 years and circle back around from our military careers to what Kite and Key stands for, which is reaching out, and helping people fill the gap from where they are today to where they want to be. Who knew that you were going to be laying the groundwork for that while I was still in uniform, only to circle back around and you pick me up on the back end of that. So I'm just truly thankful and blessed to have you, still a part of the Benning camp. I just, I love what you're doing, and I'm excited to see where we're going to grow this thing from here. It's all about the people. So thank you, Jason.
You said it. All right. And thank you all for joining us today. And as Tia said, it's all about the people, and you are the people. And if there's anything we can do to help you get where you want to be, there are a myriad of options that we have for you. Please visit our website at kiteandkeysolutions.com and tune in with us again on our next Light Talk. Thank you.